we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. And I really just want to start out by saying, every month, these mornings really matter to myself and to the people that show up. And because basically everyone here is investing their time into education. And I think it just says a lot about the kind of person and people that you are. So I never take it for granted. And our whole team that puts these together is just genuinely grateful that you made the time to be here today. And if you've never been to our series before, it's called the Senior Living Education Series. And high level, it's designed to help educate, equip, and empower older adults to help make more confident decisions later in life. So that's high level what it is. A couple announcements. So starting this January, our team made customized 3-ring binders. If this is your first time here, we have them in the back, and you can grab one after, but it's basically just a 12-month binder that has every topic for the next 12 months in it. And then it's organized to where you can take notes each month. And then as we get panelists and education partners that are coming, you can grab their information and store it all in one spot. So that's the point of those. And then basically this series has been building month by month, and I want to make sure that everyone here knows where we have been and then where we are kind of headed. So I do have some exciting news that basically, as you all know, our team has tried to be very intentional from day one about growing this program and growing it in a way that we can serve as many people as possible. So over the past 6 months, we've been touring different venues and places that are a little bit more spacious than this, that could hold a little bit more people. And with that, we finally found one. And so yeah, we'll just go ahead and take a look.
Hello, Senior Living Education Series attendees. I am currently at the DMAC campus in Newton, and this is going to be where we are going to be hosting the Senior Living Education Series. We are very excited to be partnering with the DMAC campus in Newton. And as we were exploring our options, this one just fit all of the boxes. And obviously you can see the campus behind me. There's plenty of parking. So let's go take a look inside. So when you enter through the building, you'll turn left, and you can either go up these stairs right here, or it's handicap accessible as well. So there's an elevator right there, and you just take a few steps that way. So we're gonna head up the stairs right now and check out the space. So when you walk up the stairs, there's a wide open space, I guess, whatever you wanna call it. It's got seating and tables that are sitting around. And then when you walk up the stairs, you'll turn right, and then to the right will be in conference room A, which is right there. And so we will go ahead and just take a look at what it looks like. So when you enter the actual conference room, this will be where we will be hosting the seminars going forward. And the tables will not be set up like this. We'll actually be splitting this wall in half, or this room in half right here. So it's gonna feel a little bit more intimate, and we'll have seating set up for everybody. We'll have the rectangle tables instead of circle tables, so it'll still have the same feel as it does right now. And we'll have our presentation on the front right there. So yeah, we are excited to move the Senior Living Education Series to the DMAC campus in Newton. And we are excited to, see the expansion and growth, and obviously have our education partners back us here and be supportive of that. So we hope to see you guys here in April.
So it'll be starting next April. I'll send this video out so everyone can see, just have another look at it, and hopefully the audio will work on your phone and not have the technical difficulties here. But obviously it's the parking was a big thing that we were looking at, just to make sure there was enough parking for everyone that was going to come. Second thing was more the handicap accessibility. So obviously there's stairs that lead up to the conference room A up there, and then there's also an elevator. So if you do want to take an elevator, there's an elevator there. But overall, it just gives us more space to grow. Yeah, we're excited to partner with the DMAC campus in Newton. And basically, I guess just another thought as well is it's like this transition or move is not because like we have outgrown our appreciation for the gathering place and the space here. This space has meant a lot to us for the series because this is where we first started, and just having the board support and the volunteers that help us and just the overall warmth of the room we are just genuinely grateful for that, and we're grateful to be able to have hosted them here. And this move is simply because the overall mission is expanding, and we just want to be able to steward that wisely, and so we can serve more people. So if you have any like friends or neighbors or anyone else that's been thinking about coming to these series, it could be a good way to invite them, because it'll be kind of a fresh start, a new venue, but it will still be the same mission of educating and serving. So that is that piece. The next announcement, we have a new education partner. One of the things that our team is really committed to within these series is basically to make sure that everyone here has access to real professionals. So we want people who are here because they believe in education first and serving. Yeah, so with that, I'll have Miranda Caldwell come up, and if you just want to give her a round of applause, she is our new education partner. Yep.
As Andy said, I'm Miranda Caldwell, and I'm with Newton Village. Newton Village is based in Newton, and we are a full continuing care senior living campus, faith-based nonprofit, and like Andy said, we're really dedicated to making sure that people make educated choices and making sure that we're serving our senior population and the community around us. So we're excited to help out and partner, and you'll be seeing us all year.
I guess one question is, so what is Newton Village? Is it a CCRC community? How many like apartments and things would have in it?
Yeah, so we are, like Annie said, a CCRC, which is a continuum care retirement community. I always forget what that means. And so that means we have independent living, assisted living, memory care, and then short-term and long-term nursing care. 50 independent living apartments, 35 assisted living, 9 assisted living memory care, and then 24 beds in the nursing side. So kind of small, a smaller campus, a little more intimate, great community. We have some pretty awesome people that live there and work there.
Perfect. Thank you. Oh, I actually will have you, if you want to go ahead and take a seat.
Perfect.
We'll just go ahead and move into today's topic, which is obviously downsizing part 1, how to plan your downsizing journey with confidence. It's a 3-part series, so next month will be part 2, and then obviously after that it'll be part 3. But basically, downsizing is, in our opinion, one of the most significant transitions a person and or a family can or will go through. And basically the difference between doing it confidently and doing it in crisis mode always comes down to one thing, which is planning. So that's why we're here today, obviously. So that's why we're here, and what we're going to talk about today, just high level, talking about how to actually build a realistic plan, understanding different options, and then figuring out how to take steps now so you can be in control of your future later. So yeah, we'll bring up the 2 other panelists, and we'll go ahead and just get started for today's discussion. Perfect. So I'll have Miranda obviously has already introduced herself, so I'll have Keli go ahead. You want to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and then we'll have Barry follow.
Good morning. My name is Keli Robinson. I run Next Level Senior Advisors. What I do is I help people find the perfect community. There's so many out there that I help wade through all of those and help you find the right fit for you. And the best part is I'm a free service. So I do get paid, just not by you. So I'm an easy thing to sell. So that's what I do. And as I'm answering questions, you'll understand more about how I do.
Good morning. My name is Mary Eikenberry. I'm a senior downsizing coach. Andy and I got acquainted a couple of years ago. Just real quickly, Andy, you know me. I talk a lot.
Yep.
You got the hook, Andy?
Yep.
So, okay, I've got my notes. I've been working with older adults since 2008 and helping them transition from their home to a smaller home or a senior community, whatever that would happen to be. And I think most of us that have gotten involved in in the realm of senior living, kind of comes from a personal stories. And so I think all of us up here can relate in some way, shape, or form of what you have gone through or going through or may go through. I was a realtor for 30 years. I got really acquainted with the challenges that people go through as they're getting ready to downsize. But right now I'm retired from real estate. I am a downsizing coach where I like to go in and just sit down with you, have conversations, and help you make a plan for the future.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead. We kind of split out the topics here that we're going to talk about into kind of 4 different sections. So I'm going to start with Keli first, but the overall, the first, I guess, topic is why planning ahead changes everything. So we'll start with Keli. So when families come to you feeling overwhelmed about downsizing, what is usually the first thing that is missing from their approach, and or how does having a clear plan change the overall perspective?
Yeah, so in a perfect world, everybody is proactive, right? A lot of times in my world, it's crisis mode. So looking through these questions was like, oh, this is great. I would love to tell everybody how to be proactive. Most of the time it is a crisis. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people do not plan for is that crisis. Because nobody thinks it's going to happen to them. And by crisis, I mean, a lot of my clients come from the hospitals. And it's somebody looking like they can't go home. And so now we're in crisis mode. So, and yeah, I did make notes. I can talk about my business all day, but I want to make sure I answer the questions. People tend to focus on stuff. How on earth am I going to get that basement cleaned out that's been here for 50 years? So that's kind of what people focus more on instead of their future needs. It's a lot of times it's focusing on what you need right now and what you want right now. And it's paralyzing the logistics of everything. So I think that's kind of the number one approach is, what do I do with my stuff? What do I do with my house? I don't want to leave my house. It's kind of like packing a suitcase and you don't know if you're going to the mountains or the beach. It's the logistics of it that's kind of paralyzing. A clear plan takes the emotional side out of it. I work with a lot of families where there's a lot of emotions. And if I keep going on that, I'm going to answer all the next questions. What a clear plan does is instead it focuses on what I need to be safe, healthy, and thrive in the next level, the next stage, instead of what I'm losing. So that's what a clear plan is. It takes that emotion out of it. And it preserves the relationships with your family. And we can get into that more as we talk about family relationships, but it helps to not put the burden on your children. I think that's it for that one.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And then I would say just going on to Miranda there. So I guess from the senior living side, how does a family who has done some planning ahead compare to the one who is coming in to you in the middle of a crisis situation?
Yeah, so if we've done any planning at all, then we kind of know what we can afford, which is a huge one. I get a lot of families in crisis who, when we start, talking about finances, because it's a huge part, right? We got to make sure that we know where we're going, and, we talk about what happens if money runs out and things like that. And I know where I work at Village, we want to be really fiscally responsible with people's money. We don't want to just accept somebody and then they're drained of all their resources in a year and now we're in panic mode. So knowing the financial piece is a huge part. And I get that's intimate and personal, and we don't really want to tell our kids or whoever is helping us out everything about finances. But even just then having a snapshot of what kind of comes in regularly monthly, and are we still paying for the house, or is that paid off, or are there other assets like a hidden farm somewhere, or a retirement account that maybe we just haven't even thought about in a while. That helps them a lot more as we're kind of talking about things, and it guides, where to go. And then we're not spending a bunch of time at a lot of different communities, not really knowing what we can say yes to. Because what I hate is for somebody or a family in crisis, because that's usually who's helping out in the crisis situation is your family, coming in, and we sit down, we do a great experience, and they fall in love. They think this is the perfect place. And then we get to talking about finances, and they just have zero idea. And then they get back and have to do, some digging, which they're already stressed out because we're in crisis mode. So they don't really know what we're looking for. And then they only find maybe the tip of the iceberg. And then they go, oh, wait, you guys are way out of our budget. So now they're looking at something that they think is within budget. Somebody gets moved in, and then, as they start maybe getting better, or the family is now out of crisis mode and can start digging in a little bit more onto the hidden farm or things that might be in between some books somewhere, they realize that actually we could have gone with our first choice, but now we're, 6 months into living wherever we're living at, and maybe it's just easier to stay, or maybe we're concerned if dementia is a part of the conversation about another move, because that's a stressful thing to do with somebody with dementia. So I would say with any planning, you are then making the choice of where you want to live. If we're looking at senior living, if we're doing any planning at all, it's helping you make the choice instead of somebody else making that choice for you in a crisis.
Yep. Basically, planning is a form of self-protection for yourself,
Yeah.
but it's also a protection like between you and your family members, just so it gets everybody on the, maybe not on the same page, but at least it gets the conversation started and going. Another thing I thought of when we were talking as well, it's like from the realtor perspective, it's like when I'm working with the buyer that's looking to purchase a house, it's like, we got to figure out what you can afford first before we can actually start going to look at, houses. So it's kind of that same perspective there. And then married. So obviously you've been coaching / educating older adults since like 2008, 9-ish. What would you say is the biggest mindset shift people need to make in their heads before they can actually start building the downsizing plan for themselves?
Well, there's a couple of things. Before I get into that, I want to ask all of you, how many of you have been in your house 20 years or more? 30 or more? 40? 50 or more? 60? Wow. 70? How long? 63. I think you beat my record. I had one was 62 years. So yeah. Congratulations, you're a record breaker today. You didn't even know it. Okay, so you've been there a long time. That's not just a house. That's a chapter in your life. Think about it. It's a chapter in your life. And as Keli said, downsizing and moving is emotional. You're going to have 2 moves to make. You've got the emotional move and you've got the physical move. Which one's going to be easier? The physical. You can hire somebody to come and do the physical. The emotional is really tough, and just embrace it. Just know that it's going to happen. You've got a lot of emotional baggage that you've left in that house. So when I sit down with people, the first thing I like to say is downsizing isn't decluttering. Downsizing is right-sizing your life, whether it's going to be in your current home, or whether you're moving to a smaller residence, condo, townhome, or whether you're going to move in with a relative or go to a senior community. Decluttering is decluttering. Downsizing is something totally different, and people tend to get those confused. And they always think that, oh, I got to get rid of all my stuff first. Actually, when I worked with clients and helping them get ready to move, getting rid of the stuff is the last thing to worry about. There's a lot of other stuff that comes first. So just kind of put that off to the side for now. But I think the mind shift is, well, let me ask another question. How many of you are just kind of avoiding that whole discussion? You just think, yes, you're not raising your hands, but I'm seeing the heads nod. Okay. So I see downsizing as a shift from avoidance to ownership. I'm going to own this. I'm not going to avoid it anymore. I can plan for the next chapter of my life. I'm not going to wait for somebody else to do it for me. How many of you want other people making decisions for you as you age? I don't want my 2 girls making decisions, especially the one. You want to make your own decisions. And as has already been discussed, when family members are put in the position of making those decisions for you, there's a lot of guilt that's put on them. I've been there, I know it. And there's resentment on your part that I didn't want to be here, but this is where my kids put me. If you've done your homework and you've gone out and you have toured communities and you just decided that, okay, I've got these top 2 when the time comes, I'm writing it down. My kids know where we'd like to move to. So don't avoid it. Embrace it. Own it. You're not downsizing your life. You're right-sizing the next chapter of your life. So I think that's probably the biggest mindset is don't avoid it. Own it. And make sure that you're making the plan so that your kids don't have to do that for you. The other thing that I think, just real quickly to add, is that for a lot of us, when we grew up, I'm probably more in your age bracket than these 2 gals are, but I grew up in an era where the moms were still at home. If a grandma or grandpa needed help, they moved in. Or I was, moms were at home, ready to go down for the day and spend time. Well, now that's not the case. Women are in the workforce and they're not home. So now what do? We've had to recreate how we care for our loved ones as they age. So that safety blanket that we had for years and years and years of family taking care of us, in most cases, isn't there anymore.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good. So we'll go into the second topic here, which is basically creating a plan that actually fits your lifestyle. So I guess to continue here, Mary, when you sit down with someone one-on-one to help them actually create a path forward, what would you say are the most important questions you initially help them answer in order to help them build a plan that they actually feel comfortable?
One of the first things I do when I go in and I coach older adults that are looking to move and how this is all going to happen, I just kind of want them to sit down and just share with me where you're at. What prompted you to have me come over? Is there a health issue, or you just you're being proactive, making a plan? What's going on? And I just let you talk and figure out what you want to do. But when I do start the conversation, I'll say, this whole process does not start with closets. It starts with clarity. What do you want? As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, getting rid of the stuff is the last step. So some questions to ask yourself, and you might want to write these down, because when the time comes for you to actually jump in and embrace all this, what do I want my daily life to feel like in the next 5 to 10 years? Do I still want to be repairing the gutters, cleaning up the gutters, mowing the yard, painting? What responsibilities still energize me? Maybe you love working in the garden. You love being outside. Which activities drain you? Cooking. If my health changed unexpectedly, would this home still serve me well?
You hope it does.
And what's holding you back from making a move? Is it fear? Is it money? Is it family? Emotional ties? I think as you go through this process and you have clarity about it, you're going to become more confident. And the confidence doesn't come from having fewer belongings. It comes from aligning yourself with your home and what you want for your future. And I think that first question is, where do I see myself in the next 5 to 10 years? If you're already having some health issues, maybe you're asking yourself, where do I see myself in the next 3 to 5 years? What's going to best serve me? I may be healthy, but maybe my spouse is having problems. Okay, then it's time for the two of us to put our heads together and start making a plan. And I will tell you that in most cases, one of you is always more ready than the other. Rarely does it happen that both are ready to jump on board at the same time.
That's good. I think a lot of people, just a thought too, is like people need questions, not necessarily the answers to the questions, because when you're given the question, then it makes you think about like your life, and instead of just getting the answer, you're actually thinking practically, okay, where do I actually want to be in 5 to 10, or what that kind of looks like. So, Keli, when helping someone evaluate what their next chapter should look like, what do people most commonly overlook when thinking about their lifestyle needs, whether it's now or in the future?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm just going to tell a story of piggybacking here about your children. When my son got married, my middle son, he said, Mom, you can come live with me. It's fine. Live with me. And then he had his first child, and it was, you can live in the basement. Now he's got 2 children, and I'm living in the shed. So don't rely on your kids. But to answer that question, most people, we tend to, if we're looking at a community or a move, we really focus on the real estate part of it, where it is. In the real estate world, that's great. Location, location, location. We've always heard that, right? And it's like you buy a home, if you've got children, you buy a home a lot of times because of the school down the road is where you want your kids to go. We fail to look at our future needs if we just are going to the community that's right down the road, or the one that your sister's best friend's mom lives at because they love it. When I'm helping somebody move into a community, as by assessment, I may find out that one of the spouses may have Parkinson's, just the beginning stages of Parkinson's. And I'm going to look at completely different communities than somebody, a couple who are completely healthy and very active. I'm going to kind of use the assisted living world. So in assisted living, there's state guidelines of what they can do, and within our communities, there's social models and there's medical models. And a medical model, so if the guidelines are up here, a social model might do right here. So they're going to do still help, but they're not going to go all the way to that top of that list of what the state allows. And with a medical model, they're going to do everything that you can possibly do because they're set up to do that. So when I see somebody that has Parkinson's, say it's not even in the stages yet of it's not progressing, we do know that it's going to progress. Right. So we're going to look at communities that are more of that medical model, even though they don't need it right now. So all that to say is to look at the functional reality of what comes next, not just what you are independently able to do right now. That makes sense. Tried to make that as make sense as possible, but that's why I can't even remember the question now because I get so into that. Because I have moved people out of communities because it's right down the road from their home and they love it and it's beautiful and it's brand new, and then they can't. Doesn't mean that that's a bad community. It just means that that community cannot make your needs, can't reach your needs. I don't even remember the question.
No, that's
I think I answered it.
Definitely. Yeah. Dan's kind of just going to the next question with Miranda. I mean, it kind of flows into the same thing, but what types of housing and or community options should people be aware of as they start building their plan? And how do you help someone narrow down what actually fits their situation? Just kind of tagging on to that last question, because basically Newton Village might not be the best place for someone, and it might be Park Center, or it might be a place we call it, or Des Moines, or something like that. So
Yeah, we are not the best place for everyone. I'd love to be, but we're not. And that is a reality. And you want to work with communities who know that and who are willing to recommend and refer to other communities. I love that Kelly talked about location, because being in Jasper County, in the more rural parts of, but not really rural, we're 30 minutes away from Des Moines area. So I get that people want to stay close to the farm or in the hometown. The reality is that there's not a ton of options, and that is a really tough pill to swallow. So being able to, again, be proactive and plan and start to tour before it's a need, but as you kind of digest those questions that Mary talked about, what do I want my life to look like in 5 to 10 years, will really help kind of inform what you're looking at from a community standpoint. And that is the best mindset to have going in. A question I always ask people when we come in and experience Newton Village is, what does your dream community have? Because for somebody, it may be, we've got 2 bedrooms and a walkout balcony and all the bells and whistles in the kitchen, which is great. We're not that community. And then for somebody else, it's, I want the best neighbors who are going to check in on me, who are going to care about me. I want a place where my faith is important and, built into everything that not only my neighbors, but the staff do. Well, then, yeah, we're leaning more towards what we can do, and let's talk about that. And so thinking of that question is huge too. That would be another takeaway that I would say to, write down is, what does my dream community have? Just the top 3, because that's all we really want to focus on when we're looking at what we want. Is it, it's beautiful, it's new, it's in my neighborhood, great. But then let's also dive deeper. Do we have an underlying illness that we're looking at in 10 years? Maybe my life looks a lot different. That's something to know. And as Andy said, when we were talking the CCRC, I'm not going to give you all the acronyms for every senior living. Very confusing, and I don't remember all of them, and you won't need to. Just kind of know that, there's some places that are just standalone, independent living apartments, and that's all that they are. And the biggest differentiators are independent living is we're getting into, maybe we just want the socialization of living near people our age. They do activities, maybe they help out a little bit with housekeeping. And then assisted living, sometimes, most of the time, we're including meals. We have staff on site 24/7. And then they're able to accommodate, you do want to ask on what they're willing to do, because there are different levels of assisted living. So knowing that, you're already ahead of the game, looking into long-term care. But I do also want to point out, home health is an option. Home support is there. There are some great companies that you can reach out to, if you're doing that reflection of 5 to 10 years, what does my life look like? If your life looks like you're still at home, there are places that can support that. And maybe it is just, okay, in my head, I'm still at home, but reflecting on these other questions, my home isn't able to fit my needs potentially in 10 years. So let me talk to a construction company about, outfitting my bathroom to make sure that I can still use it, or how to get my laundry on the main floor instead of having to go downstairs. So there's a lot. I think that reflection question is great. And if home is really important, right? If that is the key, and where you get a lot of your energy from, there's places out there, and everybody is happy to get resources to connect you and people that can continue to support you at home.
Yep. And it might even be, if you are looking to downsize, or stay in your home, but trying to think how to word it. Maybe you don't want to necessarily move into a senior living community, but you still want to be at home, but your home is basically too big. So you could, like, there's the option of just downsizing into a smaller home,
Right.
1 or 2 bedroom, just downsizing that way, is an option. And then another thing I wanted to touch on as well, just from the comment that you made, was how there are, as we were going through the process of getting certified as the certified senior housing professional, we were basically tasked with touring a bunch of different senior living communities, and we could tour whichever ones we wanted to, but I just basically did Central Des Moines and then like Jasper County and Marion County. And there are, I don't know, there's a many in Central Des Moines, and then basically once you get into towards the more like rural communities, there's just a lot less options. So with that comes the thought of from what I have noticed is basically the more rural communities, those have basically a wait list, longer wait list compared to and correct me if I'm wrong, but the ones that are more in Central Des Moines, those are typically you'll have more availability from what I've noticed. So just a comment from you brought that up.
Yeah, and that's why if we're in crisis, like it breaks my heart I'm happy to help and I will do whatever I can. But most of the time, if I've got people coming to me in crisis, I don't have what they need, which is so upsetting. And so we're either having to move maybe into a higher level of care than is needed just to kind of, trying to get into where we're going, or just not being able to help at all is an option. And, then the family is struggling with, well, they really wanted to stay local and close to the farm or close to us, right? A lot of families that live in the community, it is harder to expect them to come out, and make a 30-minute drive or things like that. So.
Yep. And then, we'll have Mary go next, but to just kind of go into the third topic here is and we kind of touched on it already, but kind of planning for future care needs. So let's say, Mary, how do you coach someone to plan not just for where they want to live today, but for the care they may need in the future, without necessarily having that conversation be scary or premature, if that makes sense?
I just talk about being proactive. We never know. I could fall tonight, break my hip, and may not be able to go back to our 2-story home. All the bedrooms are upstairs and so is the laundry. So what are we going to do? My husband's wonderful, but I tried his patience. I had foot surgery in December. He was great. We spent more time together those 6 weeks probably than we had in 6 months. You've got to be proactive and think about the what ifs. In my mind, I think I'm going to live to be 100 because I've got longevity on both sides of the family. Well, I could, get hit by a car going home today. What are we going to do? I think it's just important to sit down and say, okay, what if? We're going to stay here as long as we can, but what if this happens? What if this happens? What am I going to do if my husband passes first? What's he going to do if I pass first? And talk about those. I mean, death is one thing all of us have in common, but nobody wants to talk about it. And unfortunately, we end up talking about it during stressful times. Nothing's been done. Nobody knows what to do. And I think being proactive is one of the best gifts that you can give to your family and to your spouse. I did a panel. I had a similar series like Andy has. I just sold it this past year. I did it since 2018. And I had a panel of people that had moved, and one of the couples, and they were so funny. And I was their realtor, and he was talking about how they came about, making this move, and it was his idea. He was talking to a guy out in the golf course, and blah, blah, blah. He got talking, and his wife grabbed the microphone, and she says, okay, now let me tell you how it really happens. But at the end, he said, I just want to say one thing. He said, I wanted to make this move as a gift to my wife and to my family. He said, realistically, he said, the husband is going to pass before the wife. And he said, and I have some health issues. He said, realistically, I am going to die before her. And he said, I wanted this taken care of. We've been in our house for 30 some years, have the same wallpaper in it that was in it when they bought the house. It was just filled to the, to the brim. Well, they ended up moving into a co-op and absolutely loved it. And we're just delighted that they didn't have any of that maintenance to deal with anymore. A year after they moved in, I got a call from another resident who had helped move in there. And they said, did you hear about Bill? And I said, no, what? She goes, he went down to the mailbox and came back at the apartment, collapsed and died heart attack. I'm going, wow, was he prophetic?
Right.
And I had gotten to know them both pretty well. And I had talked with the wife several times. And she goes, thank God we had you. She said, if we hadn't moved when we did, she said, I can't even imagine. She said, what was so neat is she said, the social life there was great. She says, because most of our neighbors after 30 years had moved away and they were all done for families and they were working, so we never saw anybody. But she said, when Bill had his heart attack, she said, there were people there immediately. They were trying to calm me down. They were the ones making the call to 911. One of the people was an RN. She was doing CPR. She said, had I been at home, I wouldn't have had any of that support. And the support that I had afterwards, people were bringing me meals and they were inviting me over and they were just, she said, that kind of support you can't have when you're living alone in your home. And that was just, to me, that was just such a powerful eye-opener for me. I mean, I knew it, but to actually know somebody that had experienced that and they had planned for that occasion, that if something would happen to him, she was taken care of. And she very definitely was. When you make your move, make sure it's one that supports you on your strongest days and on your most vulnerable days. I had down here, planning ahead isn't pessimistic. It's one of the most generous things you could do for yourself and your family. And planning ahead replaces crisis with calm. If something happens, the plan is there. You have it written out. Keep a copy at home. Give one to your kids. Give one to your attorney, your CPA. Whoever needs to have it, they need to give them the plan so everybody is on the same page.
I think I took this quote from you, but I believe you said when emotions are high, logic is low, and then when logic is high.
Yep, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
When emotions are high, logic is low. When something bad happens, you're not thinking. And I've seen that happen with people when they're looking for places to move to. 6 months later, they'll say, oh, God, Mary, that was the worst decision we ever made. I don't know what we were thinking. I said, you weren't. It was a knee-jerk reaction. You took the first thing that was available, or your kids took the first thing that was available, because you hadn't done any research. You didn't know where you wanted to be. You didn't know what you were looking for. What I'm looking for, and what my husband are looking for, we're really not on the same page. I like to say sometimes we're not even in the same library.
Yep. And I've repeated this a lot too, but I like to say it as well. The hard conversations are healthy conversations. In the long run, it helps. It's going to help yourself and it's going to help those around you. So to go to Keli, just within your work placing older adults in their families, how often does a lack of care planning create a crisis, and what does it look like when someone has planned well ahead of time? So just kind of the contrast there.
Yeah, because like I started off with, in my world, most of the time it's a crisis. And so a crisis is forcing someone to make a 5-year decision in 5 minutes. And so a lot of times I meet people in the hospital and it's usually the kids, or even somebody who has no family. I have worked with people that have no family and now we're in crisis mode and they have no one to help move them and no one to help make these decisions for them. And now they're relying on somebody that they just met, which they can trust me. This is my passion, but it's heartbreaking. They don't have anybody to help. So it's that crisis mode of families are exhausted. They have nowhere. They don't know where to turn. And the hospital caregivers are saying, care coordinators are saying, you have 48 hours to get out. we're kicking you out. And by the way, if they're working with me, they don't have to get out in 48 hours. I got you. Because they all work with me. They know that we're making a plan. But yeah, so the lack of planning is now we're having to make like a knee-jerk decision. And yes, we can find the best place, and we can find a place that you will thrive. I kind of feel a little bit like we also make it sound like if you're in crisis mode, it's the worst thing ever, and you're going to be in this dump down the street. That's not true, because I mean, that's what we do. We help you find the best fit. And through conversation and in my case, I'm in every community. Not every, I haven't been to Newton for a while. But it's so far away. I live in West Des Moines. It's so far. It is when you don't have coolant in your car. But I'm in all these communities. And so after talking to somebody, even in crisis mode, within about 10 minutes, I know where the best place is going to be for them. When somebody has a plan, when we've looked at communities, when we've sat down and we've talked about finances, when we've gotten kids involved that know their finances and know what's happening, even when it becomes a crisis, we have a plan. It's no longer a crisis, right? Because we've got our name in a wait list. Yes, to your point. Yes, we do have a lot of communities in the West Des Moines. We have a lot of communities in the Des Moines area. So most of the time, a wait list is not important, but it is when you're so far away out here. It is important to have that plan, and having a plan puts the decision back on the senior, on the person having to make that plan. It takes it away from, your kids can just be consultants instead of a CEO. No kids want to be the CEO of their parents. We just don't want to. It leaves the dignity with folks to be able to make those plans.
Yep. Oh, that's good. Miranda, is there anything else that we have not touched on about just understanding senior living communities and like how they're structured around just different levels of care that you would like to touch on in regards to that?
Yeah. So, like we had kind of talked about, there's everything from standalones of independent living or total nursing care to full continuums of care. You're living with everybody on the spectrum kind of thing. I like to tell people, and this is a selling point I give to communities that don't have that long-term nursing care. Statistically, I'm a data nerd. So, if you get into the appropriate, and I say that with a big asterisk, level of living at the appropriate time, the need that you will have for nursing level of care drops down to below 5%. Below 5% of people will have to go to nursing care if they get into the appropriate level of care at the appropriate time. For some people, that's getting into an independent living community where they are supported while they're feeling good and maybe don't feel like they need to move, right? That's always the thing that I get. Well, we're just looking, I don't feel like I need to move. And knowing what independent living actually covers, because I've definitely had families and, seniors come in and say, I'm just looking, we're planning ahead. Independent living's where I'm going to go, but I will need help with meds and showers. I'm like, we're not looking at independent living anymore, friends. So, or we're looking at independent living with support from home health, and I'm happy to talk about all those options. But if you're wanting the staff on site to be able to help with anything all the time, not independent living. So, just kind of knowing those things. And there are different communities that do something called aging in place. We are not one, but where you can move in at maybe an independent living level of care. And if you or your partner ever needed to go to an assisted living level of care, you can stay where you're at and just basically switch on services. So that's always something interesting to look at. I have been to a couple of those communities. I think it's a really excellent model. Unfortunately, a lot of those places don't also have an attached nursing home. So that is something to be aware of. Now, I think that model does help people stay in an appropriate level of care when needed and then can keep them out of the nursing home. So I try to put the positivity in planning. I've also had people come in and be like, we're planning, we're just looking, but my husband has severe dementia and I'm about at the end of my rope. And I'm like, what are we planning for? Next week? Because that's what it sounds like we're looking at right now. So just be aware, like, again, reflect on these questions, be really honest and hard with yourself. That's a really hard internal monologue to have of like reality check. What does my life look like now? And what do I want it to look like? Do I actually need somebody coming in and helping, even just with some vacuuming? Am I eating well? Am I taking care of my body well? And food is such a big part of that. And I get, again, so many people who are like, I'm just planning. And then I talk and learn more about their lives. And they're like, so I have a coffee for breakfast and lunch is whatever I'm finding in my cupboards. And then dinner, I'm walking down to Casey's and grabbing a pizza. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about how we actually want to be living and what we want to be feeding ourselves with. And, or maybe I get people who come in and they're like, oh yeah, I'm active. We had somebody who goes, I do 4 blocks a day. And I'm like, wow, that is great walking. But I've noticed as we just walked from here to, the elevator that we're kind of struggling a little bit. And I'm like, well, where do you live? What 4 blocks do you do? And they're like, oh, like kitchen to living room to bedroom. And I'm like, oh, we're not talking about even like town blocks. We're talking about that kind of a block. So, again, it's having to bring in that realistic conversation with yourself before we're even bringing in the consultants and the kids and making sure, like, what does my life look like right now? Am I happy with it? Do I feel like I'm preparing myself for, the future that I want? And then bring in the kids, talk about, this is what I want out of my future and things like that.
Yep.
Sorry, I can go on.
No, that's good. Yeah, it actually kind of helps this transition into. So basically, this is coming from our 5-step downsizing guide. Basically, the first step is creating a plan, and then just to transition into the second step, it's communicating that plan that you have created with your family and friends. So we'll go to Kelly. So obviously, family communication is can be, and sometimes it is, one of the most emotionally charged parts of the process, and just having that conversation with your family. I guess, do you have any advice to give us about how to bring their family into the conversation while having the older adult stay in control of the overall decision?
Yeah, that is a tough one because I'm faced a lot with kids that have no idea anything about their parents' finances, where to even find anything, and it is tough because so my parents' generation, they both are gone now, but the older, they didn't talk about money. They didn't tell us. I had no idea how much my mom or my dad made. I had no idea. I thought we were wealthy. We were not. I had no idea. Kids don't know where to find any of the documents that they need. So those conversations are so important, but I know it is really hard to tell your kids. Like if I told my son how much I had in the bank, he'd be at my door every day. Mom, we need a hot tub. So I get it. It's really hard to talk about, but it is so important. And it doesn't have to be a completely in-depth, it's just, this is where you find our documents. This is what we have. And here's our long-term care policy over here. Give them access. Okay. And then power of attorney. Please do not give 3 kids a power of attorney. Equal power of attorney, don't do it. Do not do it. choose one of your most responsible person to do that. Because I can tell you, as I'm sitting in a care plan or we're trying to figure out what's going to go next, there's 3 kids and they all have power of attorney. And I can tell you who the oldest, the middle, and the youngest is. Every single time, and I get it right every time. The oldest is practical. Mom, Dad need this. I don't care where they go. They just need it. Middle child is like, I don't care where you put them. And middle child is, they don't need to go anywhere. They need just to go home. Yeah. It's always that way. So do not give 3 kids equal power of attorney. That is my, if you get anything from this, just don't do that. But those conversations are hard to have. I mean, you're basically giving all your secrets to your kids. So choose that one person and then make sure the other ones are on board. Yeah. So that'd be my big.
I'm actually the baby of 3. What does the youngest?
The youngest is usually like, they're fine. They can go home. The oldest will take care of them.
Yeah.
Maybe what? Go ahead.
I want to add one thing about the power of attorney. And from a realtor standpoint, when we get ready to sell the house, if you have 3 kids or 3 powers of attorney, they don't even have to be kids. I mean, they could be siblings or whoever. Everybody has to agree and everybody has to sign every single document.
Yes.
I could kill those people. And they never agree. It takes forever to get anything done.
I had 6 once. Oh my God.
Yeah. So if you have 3 kids, 4 kids, whatever, go back and look at that and go, so you know what? Let's not have any of them. Let's have my sister-in-law, whoever. But take a look at it. Who's the responsible one? Who's going to follow through on your wishes?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just wanted to add one thing too, is if you have planned ahead and have a plan created, the conversations with your kids are going to be so much easier and you're in control. They aren't. They may not agree with you, but you can just say, we didn't expect you to agree on everything. We just ask you to respect our decision. Yep. Okay.
Are there any practical tools that so like you're going in someone's house and you're sitting down with them, is there anything that you bring with you to kind of help to give to them to help them communicate their plans clearly so their family will understand like exactly what their wishes are and or how they could support their decisions?
Excuse me. I travel light. I don't like to have people have a whole lot of paperwork because you're going to get enough paperwork as time goes on. You don't need the extra. But I do ask you to take some notes and a simple roadmap. These are the 4 key points. Where do I plan to live? When do I consider moving? What role will my family play, if any? And who are my key advisors? Those are the 4 things you need to discuss. When, where, what, and who. And those advisors could be your attorney. It could be, maybe you've decided that, you're going to go to Newton Village and you're going to have Miranda down as the contact name. You're going to have Keli as the individual that's going to help with that. You might have Andy down as the realtor since he specializes in working with seniors. You may have me down as a coach to help guide them through the conversations. The CPA, the attorney, all those people have them all written down with the phone numbers and tell them, this is who we want to work with. We've already talked about plans. I don't care if you have a best friend that's a realtor. We want to work with Andy because he knows our situation. Make it clear to him because they will. They will have their best friend come and be the realtor and who does not have a clue how to work with older adults, doesn't understand the logistics that are involved in moving and trying to get the house emptied out, and the fact that the apartment may not be ready for a month and another realtor is going to put the house on the market and sells right away, and all of a sudden we have a situation where mom and dad have to be out of the house in a month because that's where the offer was written. We can't get into the apartment, and we have 60 years of junk to get rid of. And if you're going to have a sale, you need to plan about 6 to 8 weeks out with a tag sale person because they're booked that far out. But having those key things, what you want to have with your family is a clarity conversation. It's not a crisis conversation. You're just spelling out what you have planned to do. And you'll be surprised that the kids are just going to sit back and go, wow, thank you. This is great because we've been talking about you guys. And you know what? Your kids are talking about you. They are. They're on the phone going,
You're doing a
Kelly?
good thing of that.
Kelly, I don't know if you noticed the last time we were with Mom and Dad's. Mom's stove used to be absolutely spotless. The grease was so bad. She's just not taking care of the house. And Dad, particularly kids that only visit once in a while, are going to notice this more than the ones that are around on a regular basis. So, you know, with Christmas or with Easter or something like that coming up, they're going to say, did you notice how Dad is shuffling? He's hardly picking up his feet anymore. Well, no, I didn't. I don't know how he's going to continue to be able to do stuff around the house. They're talking about you. Where are we going to put them when the time comes?
I'm not taking them.
And the thing is, a lot of our adult kids are out of state, out of town. They don't have a clue. And even if they live in town, they don't have a clue. But if they're out of town, they don't have any idea what the resources are. So you want to have a clarity conversation with your kids. They are going to be so grateful. Yeah, so grateful. You just have no idea.
And like you said earlier, not a lot of them are going to have the time either to
Nope.
help with that process either. So
Their hearts are in the right place. They say they want to. Okay, we're going to clean out the house on this weekend. The kids are sick. The grandkids are sick. I have to watch them. Oh, we have to do this. We have to do this. And all of a sudden you're stuck there on your own.
Yeah.
There are professionals that can help you with all of this. You just need to know where to go to get them. He's got them. Okay.
yep. So I'm actually going to skip the next question and we'll just go into the just final, like last thoughts. Like if someone in the room is ready to start building their downsizing plan today after the series, they go and sit down and doesn't really know like their first step. What is one thing that you would tell them to do this week that would just be a very practical thing that they could do that would be easy? And this is going to be a question for everybody.
Okay. Well, I would say schedule an intentional appointment with yourself. Turn off the TV, shut off the phone, sit down, and if you're a couple, do this separately and see how well you match up. Because I know a lot of couples don't talk. And if they do talk, they just kind of agree with each other, even though they're not agreeing. So go back to those questions that I gave you earlier. And if it's easier to have a third party, give me a call. I'll be happy to come over and do a coaching session with you and walk you through this. But when you start this whole downsizing process, it's not to clean, it's not to declutter, it's just to think and plan. And I love this one. Downsizing confidence doesn't begin in the basement. It begins in your mind, and you have to have a plan. So just make the decision before you have to make it.
Right.
No, you did.
It's too late.
I would say call us. I mean, that would be my first, like, that's a good, I never thought about that. Have a meeting with yourself. But, and then I would say, give one of us a call, because we can help, we can walk you through, even if, I have a lot of people that call me just for advice. And because not only, I didn't say this earlier, but my husband has worked in senior living for 40 years. We've been in it he started out as chaplain when they were called old folks homes. That's how old we are. So we know senior living in and out. Even if you're not thinking about moving in the next 2 years, or the next 6 months, just call and any kind of advice you need, we can help. Even if you're not going to use our services going forward, like I said, I'm a free service, so you can call me anytime, and it's free. So that's what my suggestion would be.
I would say, I know we kind of touched on this a little bit, but think about your POA. And I know how scary it is. I've talked to so many older adults who say, but if I put it on paper and I pick the wrong person, then they're going to start making choices for me. And that's not how POA works. So there has to be a reason that they're allowed to make the choices. So dementia, you're incapacitated, those kinds of things. And even with, if you get, you go to the doctor and they start asking you to draw a clock or remember some words. Even if they do that, and maybe you don't do 100%, my father-in-law was very mad about the clock thing, but, and he is still a practicing lawyer, and he was like, I didn't know I had to put numbers on the clock. So, and he then was like, do I have, oh yeah. Because he put the circle on the hands on whatever time it actually was, but didn't write any numbers on it. And they're like, well, that technically is failing the clock. And so he came up to me and he goes, do I have dementia? I'm like, no, you don't. You're fine. So, but that, and people would think like, oh, now my POA. Nope. There has to be a lot more to that, and really, if you, again, you're picking the right person, your doctor is still going to include you in the conversation. Your housing person is still going to include you in the conversation. If you start getting in a room where people are talking over you, even if your POA is enacted and you are aware of this, speak up and say, I'm still here. You need to talk to me. Like, they're helping me. I trusted them, but, you should be in a room where people are still talking to you. So that's what I would say. This week, like, really sit down with yourself, your spouse, do these wonderful other things, but figure out a POA and like start to be comfortable with that. Yeah.
POA, person.
Power of attorney.
Power of attorney.
Yeah. So, and then, call attorneys, ask us for references. We work with attorneys all the time. See what it would take to draw up a POA document. But I want people to understand that even if you have that document, it's not like that person can now start making all of your decisions for you. You are not giving your oldest child the right to go, okay, mom and dad, you can't live at home anymore because I think so. And now we're going to go start touring places. That's not what that looks like. And yes, the people that are the farthest away will notice things in a bigger scale than the people that are there every day. I get my heaviest time for child tours is during the holiday because everybody came home. And that is also, then they feel like they're in crisis mode because, oh my God, mom is not doing as well as I thought she was, even though we're probably not there. So, but then they feel like they're in crisis because I'm only in town for 4 days and one of them's a holiday and can you, take me now? And I think I have like 5 tours the day before Thanksgiving, and a walk-in on top of it. So, just be aware.
Yeah, that's good. So, we are not going to do a Q&A today, just because we're over time a little bit, but
We're talking.
that's all right. That's all right. Miranda and Kelly and Mary will be there in the back, so if you have any additional questions for them, just feel free to see them, and they'll hang out for a little bit. But if you just want to, I appreciate your time. If you want to give them a round of applause real quick. And then before I let you go, I just have just 2 announcements. So we announced this last month, but we are doing the Senior Downsizers Club. It's going to be on the 3rd Thursday of every month. And it's going to be hosted at Park Center. High level, just going to be a small group, monthly workshops for people who essentially want to go beyond these seminars and just go a little bit deeper and have more accountability. And our team will help lead that, but if you have any questions, you can just see me after this. And then next month will be Downsizing Part 2, and it will be how to build your team and how to tackle your stuff. There's an R there. It's just a little expanded there. But yeah, how to tackle your stuff. So that's next month. And then reminder that we'll be at the DMAC campus in Newton going forward. So that's where it will be hosted. And yeah, it's always first Thursday of every month at 10 a.m. So I appreciate everybody coming and have a good rest of the day. Thank you.